Okay, as Patty said, this is just a piece of a TxDOT-sponsored research project that we've been working on for the last 18 months. And one of the project components was doing a statewide, or as close as we could get to statewide, survey of Texas motorcycle riders. The purpose of it was just to, when this project started, there wasn't any real database of who the ridership, who the motorcycle ridership are, and we wanted to get a little bit of information on rider demographics, on some of their, riding habits and history, some of their attitudes and opinions towards various types of safety countermeasures. And part of this was to help us give us some information for improving, developing and improving a communications and outreach plan, and also then to provide some data for the development of the motorcycle safety plan that Patty was talking about. The survey questions, a lot of them just had to do with the characteristics. We asked questions about demographics, about age, about gender, about job field, things like that. We asked about riding habits, training, licensing status, any crash experiences they might have had. And then we asked them a few questions just on their use of things like use of protective gear, their opinions on different types of safety countermeasures, and then finally their opinions on some different advanced technologies that are either in existence or kind of emerging right now. Our participants, this was an online survey. We used an existing email database that Patty has developed over years from doing outreach events. We went through the Texas Motorcycle Safety Coalition. We emailed out to various the riders clubs and put it out through social media. We did end up with approximately I've got 1386 here. It's a little hard to tell sometimes when you get an online survey because you'll get what looks like 1,500 responses, but maybe a couple hundred of those they filled answered the first question about yes, I'll take this survey, and then you never got anything else. So as far as we can tell, we got about 1,386 responses. Our demographics of the respondents, about 85% of them were men. The ages ranged from 21 to 81 years old, with an average age of about 52 and a half. We did ask just most frequent makes of motorcycles owned by participants, but we also kind of asked what type of motorcycle that they rode most often. We actually had, I think, spaces for 3 or 4 motorcycles that they owned if they wanted to tell us about them. But then we asked, so which kind do you ride more often? And these are the overall percentages of the types of motorcycles that our respondents said they rode most frequently. And then this graph shows a little bit by age group. And it's a whole bunch of lines on that graph, so you can kind of see how some of the different motorcycle types. I think we had the sport bikes, for instance, a little bit larger percentage of them, almost 30%, in our youngest riders, but then it dropped off fairly rapidly. So you can just see some of the trends that we saw there in terms of the type of bike that people are riding. I see a couple people who are sort of finger tracing those lines, so I was going to give you a second. Okay. We asked how long you've been riding. As you can tell by this little pie graph here, the vast majority of people that answered our survey have been riding for a long time. And one of the limitations of our survey data was the fact that this probably isn't truly representative of the entire riding demographic, because we didn't. It was a little bit self-selecting. If you're a member of a club, if you're a member of, you're probably more likely to see the link to this survey. So this probably isn't completely representative, but most of the ones that answered for us have been riding for a while. That little black wedge there are the ones who've been riding less than 2 years, which is a pretty small slice of our respondents. We did, and these are some highlights. There were about, and I'm impressed that so many people finished the survey because there were over 40 questions on this survey, so I'm just giving you a couple of highlights on it. We did ask, how often do you choose to wear a DOT-approved helmet when you ride? You can see that top line, most people pretty much wear one all the time, of the ones that responded to us. And then the other responses are sort of clustered down there at the bottom of the graph. We did ask, we did ask everybody, if you wear a helmet all the time or most of the time, what are the primary reasons that you wear one? We also said if you don't wear a helmet all the time, what are the primary reasons that you don't? And we got a whole bunch of reasons, but and they could select more than one, which is why this adds up to more than 100% in each column. But the most common, by far the most common reason for wearing the helmet, not surprisingly, was for the protective benefits. The most common reason for not wearing a helmet was, they put it down just to personal freedom, that they just chose not to. We did also ask, just within the last year, we asked, have you consumed alcohol within an hour prior to riding a motorcycle? Again, the most frequent response was, nope, I have not. And then you can sort of see the other responses. The green line there is, yes, sometime within the last year I've consumed 1 to 2 drinks before getting on a motorcycle. And then the larger, 3 to 4 or 4 or more, those are the red and yellow lines down at the bottom. We did ask about crash experiences. About 56% of our respondents had been in at least one motorcycle crash in their lifetime. Of those, 73% had sustained an injury. That was ended up being almost equal thirds of that 73%. I think we divided it into, were you taken to the hospital in an ambulance? Did you go in for medical treatment on your own? Or was it an injury that did not require, you to see a doctor? It's about almost equal thirds. The bottom bullet there, we asked a couple of questions about what kind of crash was it, what happened first in the crash, what were various factors in the crash, and just one thing that kind of jumped out in what was a contributing factor. About 47% of our people who'd been in a crash said the other driver said they didn't see me, and that was one that kind of jumped out at us.
Is that among two vehicle crashes or all crashes?
I think that was all crashes. So I think because there were there are a lot of the two vehicle crashes, but then there are the crash that technically the motorcycle didn't hit anything else, but they may have had to swerve. They swerved off the road to avoid. Then one of the things we asked, and this was one of those questions we ended up with, everything ended up high. It sort of ended up high. We expected more variation on this, but we asked for these various things that you're seeing down the side of the graph. We just sort of said, how important do you feel that each one of these is to a motorcycle rider's safety? And the dark red, the sort of maroon there, are the ones that said extremely important. We gave them a 5-point scale from extremely important all the way down to not important. And like I said, we expect a little more variation, and they all felt that all of these were important. So the red is extremely important. The sort of pinkish is just important, and then the neutral, not very important, and not important almost didn't register on that graph. But I did arrange these in sort of approximate order. The most frequently, the highest rating went to my own riding behavior, and you can see all the others, other things there. And we asked this question just to kind of get this, along with many other questions, just to kind of get an idea of what's the best approach to reach out to riders, to reach out to motorists, to do that sort of thing. And then we asked them about the effectiveness of various types of countermeasures, and again, it's the same scale. The dark red is very effective. The sort of pinkish red is effective. So these were the top. In both cases, these are the top 2 out of 5 ratings that they could possibly give. And just asked them how effective they thought each one of these things would be: outreach to riders, outreach to motorists. These I ended up arranging in sort of approximate order of the ranking, but we asked them about both basic and advanced rider training. Lights and reflective materials, we were asking, that was actually much longer, lights, reflectors, reflective material, all the sort of high-vis stuff, we asked about that. Asked about helmets and about safety gear. And again, this was less variation in answers than I might have anticipated. They were all very important. Yes, sir?
When it came to the lights and reflective materials on the crash spectrum, you asked that question. Were they wearing that during the crash or at the time of the accident?
Versus not. I don't. I'll have to look back. I'm not sure we asked specifically if they were wearing, because I know we asked if they were wearing a helmet at the time of the crash, and I don't know at the time whether we asked about the high vis. There's
the comparative data. The whole bright colors are going to see me, but yet you're continuing people in here, I didn't see.
I didn't see them. Yes.
No matter what you're wearing.
That's true. And yes, no, that's. I'll go. I unfortunately don't. I don't think we asked that specific question, and I think it's one of the things I think we've learned more about the high vis even during this year that we've been conducting this. Now I would probably ask that question. But no, that's a good. I'll go back and check to see if we happen to include that. I don't believe we did. I think we asked the helmet question, but not the high vis question. And then we also asked, one of the tasks of this research project was to go out and review various types of advanced technologies. These were included technologies for motorcycles and technologies for vehicles. And these are, like I said, this is a mixture of things that you can buy today and things that are still a little on the, you know, we think it'll be coming in 5 or 10 years realm. But asked. These are the ones that we asked about. The top few you can kind of see on the left-hand column there. Just those last two technologies are for motor vehicles, four-wheel motor vehicles. Then the top ones are, you know, possible technologies for motorcycles or for part of motorcycle riding gear. So we asked about all of those, and just said, and it was the same question: how effective do you think this would be from your experience? And this is how they fell out. The anti-lock brakes was by far the one that people kind of were the most interested in. The next two that you see on that graph were the two motor vehicle technologies, which are kind of variations on a theme, something to let the driver know, hey, there's someone in the lane next to you or coming up behind you or something. And then the rest of them sort of fell out that way. And like I said, this was purely opinion. We also, because these were some of the same things that we ended up talking about in the countermeasures workshop, which I think Patty's going to talk about as well. We pulled some of those same technologies out with our various experts from various fields and said, so what do you think about these? So I think that's, yep, that is my last slide. So can I answer any other questions? Thank you so much.